Hello, this is Fortnite Loser. Doing something a bit different here. I'm going to do an in-depth review of the Apple TV series Severance, um, with some focus on Season 2, Episode 1, which I watched earlier today. And the main points I'm looking to cover are the sort of comparisons between regular office work that many of us have experienced, and how that's mirrored in this sort of dystopian future. And then we're going to look at the severance issue of how two separate people can share the same body over different time periods and different places. And then I'm going to look at the four key characters that basically make the whole series as good as it is. They're so well drawn. And then, I'll talk about episode 1 of season 2, how that's moving the story on. So, yeah, there will be spoilers. So, do not watch this if you've not seen season 1. Do not watch this. Or if you've not seen episode 1 of season 2. Also, number 5, the point I'm looking to make, which is probably of what's drawing most people into it, is the love interest. There's like the Tom Cruise character. When I say Tom Cruise, I mean the person who looks a bit like him, like Tom Cruise's ugly brother. Although he's not ugly, but not quite as good looking as old Tom is. That love interest that he's got between his wife, who he finds out isn't dead, and also with the woman who's the daughter of the boss of the whole company. That's quite intriguing. And then there's Mr. Milchek, I want to discuss as point 6, who's known as Mr. Milkshake by one of the characters in season 2, which is quite funny. And finally, to look at how corporations infantilize, or that they make childlike their staff. They treat their staff like children. It's a parent-child relationship that you sometimes have in corporations. So there's so many things to discuss with this series, and it's well worth watching. While I'm discussing it, I'm going to try and work my way through. Well, I'm going to just go on a stroll in Black Myth Wukong. So it's going to be a bit of a mental juggling exercise. But yeah, starting on point 1, the office work. The office vibe of the series is fantastic. I even think it's a bit like The Office, the comedy show. It's got that same sort of comedic level to it, with the eccentric staff members and how they bounce off each other. And to be honest, that's what's kept me going with it. If you haven't got characters that are interesting, you're not going to carry on watching it. But for me, it's the characters that made me binge watch season 1, and that was a really enjoyable experience. I only came across Severance last week after it being recommended to me by a friend, and I'm glad I watched it then, because I've only had to wait 3 days to find out what happens at the end of the cliffhanger of season 1, to see how the characters who went they left the office as innies, as they're called, to experience their other lives outside of the office. And a lot of people had to wait 3 years to find out what happened, so I only had to wait 3 days, so that's a bonus for me. And having experienced office life, I can just see so many parallels with my own experience with the oddballs that you have to work with. Sadly, I've been working from home full time for about 4 years now, so it's made me miss that aspect of work and the camaraderie that you camaraderie that you can get, which you can't via Google Chat really when you're just liaising with people on email and so on. And yeah, at the time when I did work in an office, I didn't really enjoy it. I resented having to drive into work every day, and it was a drain, and I used to dread Mondays, but now I really miss it. Yeah, the second point I want to discuss is how they create a world where essentially two different people can inhabit the same body at different times. So yeah, I mean, if you are listening to this and haven't seen it, basically there's an innie and an outie, and yeah, the innie is the person who resides in the office and he can't remember anything about his world outside, so they don't know if they've got a relationship or they're renting or own a house. They just have to accept that their entire existence is working in that office. And then, yeah, you have the outies who know they work in that environment, but they've got no recollection of the work they do, whether it's ethically sound or if they're doing something that, you know, would trouble them if they knew about it. So, yeah, it was quite an interesting concept that also drew me in. And the third point is, which I thought was touched on already, is that you've got the four main characters who sit together in a square, with each one facing another person, and yeah, they've got sort of boards they can put up to hide themselves, and it's just like it's so realistic. You can tell whoever's written the dialogue screenplay for this has experienced office work and enjoyed the camaraderie you get and the friendship. And it's a very for those who've worked in office, they might know when you have these friendships in the workplace, sometimes they don't extend to the outie world, if you like. So you've got a strong bond with them at work, but if you met them outside work, you know, they're not really friends like you, that you sort of develop away from the sphere of earning money. And yeah, just these four characters are so well drawn, and they've all got their own vulnerabilities, and all four of them, although it's only touched upon in some cases, their outie characters are quite different from their innie characters. So yeah, it's almost like you've got 8 main characters played by 4 people. And then yeah, moving on to point 4, which is season 2, episode 1. I mean, it has got a slightly different vibe to it, and it was Ben Stiller directs the first one. I don't think he directs all of the episodes, but yeah, it's really classy direction and cinematography, you know, which is quite an achievement when the whole thing, 90% of it, is just based in a well lit corporate office environment. And yeah, there's quite a lot of twists and turns even in that episode 1 of season 2. I was looking to binge watch the whole of season 2, but unfortunately I think they're just going to be releasing 1 episode a week, so I might have to wait until next Friday for episode 2 of season 2. But yeah, without too many spoilers, there's a sort of dual love interest, which moves me on to point 5 actually, where the Tom Cruise character, he's had a wife who's sadly died in a car crash apparently, but then he discovers when he goes into the outside world as an innie that he was actually coming across his wife, who was meant to be dead, as a therapist, a well-being therapist in the office. So yeah, they didn't recollect each other at all because they were in their innie mode. So yeah, it was an interesting development to see if he can actually track down his wife and tell her that they're married, because she indicated at the end of episode, the last episode of season one, that she liked being with him. So it was almost a tragic moment that so that's another thing to mention about this series. Although it's pretty much laugh out loud funny in some points, it's actually very dark. Oh dear, just died there. I don't know if that was fall damage. So yeah, and there's another love interest where the woman he works with, her innie was desperate to get out and not be in any anymore, like basically delete that part of it. And yeah, it turns out she's the daughter of the head of the whole corporation. So she comes back in season 2 and lies to them that she's just like some loner who just sits at home watching TV, when in fact she's living the life of luxury, thanks to her dad's corporation. And yeah, at the end of season 1, they did kiss, her and Tom Cruise. So yeah, he's in the office with his his wife that he's still trying to track down and still loves, and he's still got some sort of feelings for this woman who's the daughter of the corporation man. So yeah, I wonder how that's going to develop. The sixth point I wanted to mention is Mr. Milchek, who's like the new boss in season 2. And yeah, he's probably my favorite character. He's just so fleshed out, and he's got a very kind and good heart. He wants to look after his staff, but he's also ruthless and sticks to the corporation rules. And I've had bosses like that myself in life, and they're not bad bosses. That the heart's in the right place, but you just know they're gonna push you to do the bidding of the corporation and reach targets. And yeah, it can wear you down, because it becomes like a relationship where you're you feel like you're being squeezed to have as much blood taken out of you in the 8 hours that you're at work. I mean, I don't experience anything like that now, but yeah, it's the sort of thing, as a new employee, like someone in their 20s trying to get ahead in their life and in their career, bosses can take advantage of that sort of fear they have that they're trying to settle in and make a good impression. So they can be pushed to the limit, and then they become jaded and want to leave. And that's another aspect of this series where they actually hate working for the company at some point. To the extent that one of them said that let's burn this place down at the end of season 1. And then finally, one interesting aspect that really comes to light in season 2 is the infantilization, if you like, of the staff by this corporation. And that is true to the real world, where there is a parent-child relationship quite often between companies and the staff they employ. You can be put on the naughty step if you don't do certain things, and if you don't reach targets, or if you challenge work protocols for whatever reason. So yeah, it's got so many layers to it as a series, and with the very accomplished acting, the on-point dialogue, if you like, it's just pure joy to watch. I highly recommend it. You have to get Apple TV to watch it, which I get free with having a Barclays account. But I think if you join Apple TV, you do get 3 months free, so it's worth checking out. And I think as I approach this courtyard, we'll leave it there. Hasta la vista, babies.